Yeah. Vrac Experience. The podcast. 3-6 Mafia history. Discography. Got tearing to me. In the early 1990s, Memphis was a city of blues, gospel, and soul history. But in its neighborhoods, a new kind of sound was emerging. While New York was still obsessed with lyricism, and the West Coast was perfecting gfunk, Memphis kids were cooking up something darker, rougher, and more experimental. Cheap 4-track recorders, Casio keyboards, and rolling drum machines were the weapons. Mixtapes were sold out of trunks. Gas stations and corner stores, DJs like Squeaky, Spanish Fly, and Paul were redefining what underground really meant. This was the cauldron where 3-6 Mafia began to take form. Each member, DJ Paul, Juicy J, Lord Infamous, Gangsta Boo, Coops the Nicka, and Crunchy Black, came from different corners of Memphis, each with their own history, but drawn together by darkness, hustling ambition, and the desire to create something no one else dared. DJ Paul. DJ Paul, he grew up in a musical household, but was drawn early to street culture. With one arm shorter than the other due to a congenital condition, Paul's destiny wasn't in sports, it was in music. Paul started as a local DJ, hustling tapes of his beats around Memphis. He linked up with his half-brother, Lord Infamous, and together they created early horror-themed tracks under the name The Serial Killers. DJ Paul, for the summer, a legendary early tape full of dark beats and raw rhymes setting the tone for Memphis horrorcore. Local mixtape series, Paul sold homemade tapes at flea markets, gas stations, and by hand-to-hand hustle. Juicy J is a natural hustler and visionary. Juicy had an ear for both business and production. Unlike Paul, who leaned darker and more underground, Juicy was flashier, thinking ahead about how to package the Memphis sound for bigger audiences. Juicy linked with DJ Paul around 1991-92, forming an unstoppable duo. While Paul handled much of the production darkness, Juicy added bounce, swagger, and energy. Juicy produced and rapped on local tapes like Smoked Out, Loked Out. His early style was direct, raw and hustler-minded, less intricate than Lord Infamous, but heavy with charisma. Lord Infamous was a cousin of DJ Paul. He became the lyrical backbone of 3-6 Mafia. His dark imagination set him apart. Tales of the occult, gore, and paranoia. Lord Infamous was the first Memphis rapper to truly embrace horrorcore themes. His verses were full of satanic imagery, demonic chants, and bone-chilling flows. He wrote relentlessly, often blending fast cadences with twisted story illa. Portrait of a Serial Killer. Early solo tape, circulated underground. Countless collaborations on Paul's mixtapes. Yeah. Vrac Experience. The podcast. Gangsta Boo was the youngest member of the group and one of the few women in Memphis's hardcore rap scene. Growing up in Whitehaven, she embraced both the gangster culture of Memphis and her own defiant independence. She joined 3-6 Mafia in the early 90s after proving she could hang bar for bar with the guys. Her voice was commanding, her perspective fresh. Gangsta Boo's early rhymes already showed her mix of confidence, toughness, and feminine perspective. She was unafraid to rap about hustling, sex, and violence with the same intensity as her male counterparts. Coops the Nigga. Coops the Nigga was known for his eccentric personality, his obsession with mysticism, and his unique vocal style. Coops the rap with a whispered, almost ghostly tone, often mixing sung melodies with rapped verses. This gave his music a haunting quality unlike anyone else in Memphis. Coops' early solo cuts circulated on Paul and Juicy's mixtapes. His style already leaned towards spiritual, occult, and dreamlike themes. Crunchy Black is less a lyricist and more the wild energy of the group famous for his dance moves. Crunchy embodied the raw street side of Memphis culture. Crunchy joined the crew in the early 90s, providing chants, ad-libs, and raw presence. While not as lyrical as Lord Infamous or Koopsta, his hype delivery gave 3-6 Mafia their gang style intensity. 3-6 Mafia. Between 1991 and 1994, DJ Paul, Juicy J, Lord Infamous, Gangsta Boo, Coops the Nigga, and Crunchy Black built the underground brick by brick. They weren't on TV, they weren't in the stores, but their tapes sold at flea markets, pawn shops, and by hand were already shaking Memphis. The smoked out, loped out tapes spread their eerie sound through the South, and word of mouth created legends. By 1995, they were ready to unleash their first official national project, Mystic Styles. But the foundation had already been laid in those early basement years, when Memphis was still a ghost city in hip-hop. And 3-6 Mafia were writing the scripture that would change rap.
Vrac Experience, the podcast. Profit Entertainment.
1995-1998. By the early 90s, the South was still clawing for respect in the national rap conversation. New York was viewed as the Mecca. The West Coast had just exploded off the back of G-funk and gangsta rap. And Houston's Rap-A-Lot Records had begun to stake a Southern claim. But Memphis, Tennessee was bubbling under with a rawer, darker, and more sinister sound. Enter DJ Paul and Juicy J, two producers obsessed with chopped up samples, heavy 808s, and eerie soundscapes that mirrored Memphis' shadowy street corners. Along with neighborhood figure Nicky Scarfo, they founded Profit Entertainment in 1995. The goal? Create a homegrown empire that would showcase the hypnotic, violent, and a code-driven style that was already tearing through local mixtapes and cassette hustles. Their flagship group, 3-6 Mafia, embodied this vision, a collective steeped in satanic imagery, gangsta nihilism, and bone-chilling beats. At the same time, Profit Entertainment became a breeding ground for Memphis talent, from Kingpin Skinny Pimp to Gangsta Black to the rugged Kazi crew. Profit Posse, a sprawling collective of affiliates,
became Memphis's voices tied together by a shared code of loyalty, paranoia, and Southern grit. The years 1995 to 1998 were Prophet's golden age. They defined the underground, paved the way for mainstream dominance in the 2000s, and set the blueprint for crunk, trap, and modern Southern rap.
Vrac Experience, the podcast. 3-6 Mafia, Mystic Styles. Recorded in the dim-lit basements of Memphis, Mystic Styles was 3-6 Mafia's first national statement, building on years of local tapes like Smoked Out, Loped Out. The album captured the rawest incarnation of their sound, demonic chants, horror movie samples, and based at rattled box Chevys across Tennessee. The group, DJ Paul, Juicy J, Lord Infamous, Coops the Nicka, Gangsta Boo, and Crunchy Black were united under one dark vision. The record lived in the underworld, satanic rituals, murderous fantasies, drug-fueled paranoia, and Southern hustle, unlike West Coast gangsta rap, which glamorized the streets. 3-6 Mafia painted them as hellscapes. Violence wasn't cinematic, it was claustrophobic. Death loomed over every bar. The occult references gave the music an aura of danger, rumored to be more than just imagery. Lord Infamous, often called the Scarecrow, stood out with intricate, breathless flows about cannibalism and occult visions. Juicy J and DJ Paul delivered blunt force verses dripping with menace. Coops the Nicka's whispery delivery felt ghostly, while Gangsta Boo brought a female perspective, matching her male counterparts bar for bar with a cold-blooded swagger. Lyricism here wasn't about punchlines, it was about atmosphere and collective dread. This was Memphis at its rawest. The beats were skeletal, booming 808 kicks, sharp hi-hats, and loops from horror films. Paul and Juicy's genius was their ability to turn simplicity into hypnosis. Tracks like The Summer offered brief moments of reflection, but mostly the album stayed in the shadows. The production blueprint, dark, minimal, relentless, would later influence trap commercial mainstream. At the time, Mystic Styles barely registered in the mainstream press. The Source gave Southern albums only a fraction of attention, while Murder Dog praised its authenticity in minutes. Among fans, however, it was an instant underground classic. Word of mouth spread through tape, trading in car trunks, and the album became a cult Bible for those who wanted something harder and darker than what was on MTV. Today, Mystic Styles is recognized as a cornerstone of Southern hip-hop. Its sound birthed entire subgenres: crunk, horrorcore, Southern branch, and the DNA of modern trap. The album is cited by everyone from A$AP Rocky to Space Ghost Perp as an influence. What began as a Memphis basement project became a global aesthetic. Vrac Experience, the podcast. 3-6 Mafia, led by your rep. The mid-90s were turbulent. 3-6 Mafia just dropped Mystic Styles, but beef was brewing with Cleveland's. Bone Thugs and Harmony rumors spread that bone at Jack. 3-6 Mafia's fast double-time flows
which Memphis rappers had been experimenting with for years. Instead of letting it slide, 3-6 Mafia recorded Live by Yo Rep, a short but vicious EP aimed directly at Bone. The central theme, war through music. This wasn't no horrorcore fantasy anymore. It was a street-level warning. The EP embodied pride in Memphis originality, pushing back against mainstream recognition of Bone as creators of the rapid-fire style. Beyond diss records, the EP also reaffirmed 3-6's worldview of loyalty, death, and survival. Lord Infamous and Coops Danica showcased their machine gun flows, proving Memphis could spit with the same, if not greater, speed and darkness as Bone, Juicy J, and DJ Paul kept their verses direct and confrontational, throwing subliminal and not so subliminal jabs. Gangsta Boo provided the venom, further establishing herself as a commanding female voice in southern rap. Gritty and urgent, the beats leaned even heavier on drum programming and sinister loops. The production was stripped down compared to Mystic Styles, but the intensity was higher. It sounded like war music, minimal, aggressive, meant to rattle trunks and intimidate rivals. Mainstream outlets barely touched it, but underground heads ate it up. In Murder Dog, the EP was seen as proof Memphis rappers weren't afraid to step into the national rap beef arena. While Bone Thugs never fully responded, fans debated the origins of the fast flow for years. Though not as commercially important as Mystic Styles, Leave by Yo Rep cemented 3-6 Mafia's identity as innovators. The EP set a precedent. Memphis wouldn't tolerate being overlooked or having its style stolen. To this day, debates about the origins of rapid-fire rap often cite this release.
Vrac Experience, the podcast. Kingpin Skinny Pimp, king of the players ball. Skinny Pimp had been a respected Memphis MC long before his Prophet Entertainment debut by 1996. Juicy J and DJ Paul gave him the full 3-6 production treatment for his album, King of the Players Ball. Unlike 3-6 Mafia's occult heavy cleans, Skinny Pimp leaned more into the pimp player lifestyle, blending Memphis's dark energy with street player bravado. The album revolved around hustle, street politics, and a Memphis player image while violence and paranoia still lurked. Skinny positioned himself as both hustler and narrator, balancing gangster tales with pimp swagger. Skinny Pimp was razor sharp, his cadence crisp and confident. He brought story pillar and ability, weaving scenes of Memphis streets with player philosophy. Unlike Lord Infamous's horrorcore or Gangsta Boo's raw aggression, Skinny provided a smoother, calculated delivery that balanced 3-6's chaos with clarity. Paul and Juicy crafted some of their cleanest beats here, still dark and hypnotic, but with a more polished edge. Funky bass lines, haunting keys, and thick drums that matched Skinny's style. It marked an evolution from the lo-fi grit of Mystic Styles. Locally, the album was a hit, pushing Skinny Pimp to the forefront of Memphis rap. National press barely noticed, but Murder Dog praised it as one of Prophet's most balanced records. Hard, yet accessible. Though Skinny Pimp's relationship with Prophet Entertainment soured soon after, King of the Players Ball became a Southern underground classic. It influenced later Memphis rappers who wanted to merge street tales with hypnotic beats, paving the way for Memphis's player rap lineage.
Vrac Experience, The Part Chest, Gangsta Black, Can It Be? Gangsta Black was a Prophet soldier with a distinctive booming voice and militant delivery. Can It Be? Was his chance to shine as a solo act, while still connected to the 3-6 Mafia orbit. Black's album leaned less on horror themes and more on militant Southern gangster rap. The central theme: street survival and authenticity. Black wasn't here for theatrics. He wanted to document the real Memphis grind, the paranoia of hustling, and the betrayal that comes with street life. Black's rhymes were straightforward but powerful. He had the presence of a general rallying his troops, his lyrics cutting through beats with authority, while not as intricate as Lord Infamous. Black strength was his delivery and no-nonsense realism. Paul and Juicy gave Black a darker, militaristic sound, heavy on marching drums, eerie keys, and menacing bass lines. The production elevated his booming delivery, making every verse sound like a street sermon. The album was respected in Memphis but overlooked nationally. Murder Dog gave it shine, highlighting it as a pure gangster rap record compared to Prophet's more experimental projects. Fans praised its rawness. Can It Be? Solidified Gangsta Black as a Memphis legend. Though he never reached 3-6 Mafia's mainstream fame, his presence on this record made him a respected figure in the underground, influencing later gritty Memphis MCs. Vrac Experience, the podcast. "3-6 Mafia, The End." By 1997, Prophet Entertainment was buzzing. 3-6 Mafia returned with The End, their sophomore full length. If Mystic Styles was raw and sinister, The End was polished chaos, still dark, but with more confidence and production muscle. The occult imagery remained, but The End expanded into broader Southern rap themes: hustling, violence, drug use, paranoia, nihilism. The title suggested apocalypse, both literal and metaphorical, a constant theme in 3-6's music. The group had sharpened their pens. Lord Infamous remained the lyrical standout, with dizzying horrorcore versus Coops the Nicka's eerie falsetto stood out. Gangsta Boo grew into her voice, commanding respect on every verse. Juicy J and Paul kept their verses blunt and raw. Crunchy Black added ad-libs and flavor, completing the God Nana. This was Paul and Juicy at their peak 90s form.
distorted drums, layered samples, haunting synths. The sound was still Memphis underground, but the mixing was cleaner, signaling their move toward mainstream recognition. The end got more attention than Mystic Styles. Murder Dog called it one of the hardest Southern albums of the year, while The Source still ignored Memphis. Underground fans crowned it a classic. The album cemented 3-6 as leaders of the Memphis scene. No longer just cult figures, it set the stage for their eventual crossover success in the 2000s, while maintaining their dark underground credibility.
Yeah. Vrac Experience. The podcast. 3-6 Mafia, Chop 2 World Domination. By 1997, cracks had started to show inside Profit Entertainment. Business disputes with Nicky Scarfo pushed DJ Paul and Juicy J to strike out on their own, forming Hypnotized Minds. The new label kept the same core crew, 3-6 Mafia, but gave Paul and Juicy full control over the vision, the money, and the future. The title said it all. World domination, 3-6 Mafia weren't content with being underground kings anymore. They wanted recognition outside of Memphis. Released under their new label, this was their first big statement as Hypnotized Minds. Still rooted in horror, violence, and street nihilism. But there was a new theme: ambition. 3-6 Mafia saw themselves as global contenders. They still rapped about death, dope, and demons, but with more swagger, more focus on domination, and more confidence in their legacy. Lord Infamous continued to terrify with his intricate, occult-drenched rhymes. Juicy J and DJ Paul sharpened their punchy, blunt flows, coops to niggas, heart invoked thanks to Boo, grew more aggressive, embodying the female voice rap, crunchy brat. Continued to provide ad-libs and energy. Bigger, cleaner, harder. Juicy and Paul stepped up their game. Sending racket intros and boom 808s that push car speakers to their limits. This wasn't just underground anymore. It was built for arenas, for the South to ride to, from Memphis to Atlanta to Houston. Still ignored by The Source and Nub Excel, but Murder Dog dedicated coverage, praising the group's ambition. Fans saw world domination as proof 3-6 Mafia were bigger than just Memphis. They were becoming Southern legends. The album marked Hypnotized Minds' true beginning. It proved that 3-6 Mafia could scale their sound for larger audiences without losing their darkness. Many Southern rappers later credited this album for inspiring them to think bigger than local fame. Yeah. Vrac Experience. The podcast. The Kazi. Kamikaze Time's Up. Formed by Project Pat, MC Mac, Scan Man, and K-Rock, the Kazi was Prophet's attempt to expand beyond 3-6 Mafia. Kamikaze Time's Up showcased the grimiest side of Memphis street rap, a chaotic group effort filled with apocalyptic imagery and street anthems. The title said it all: destruction, finality, kamikaze missions, eating to do or die loyalty. Memphis pride and urban warfare dominated. Each member brought a distinct style. Project Pat was the storyteller, MC Mac and Scan Man the gritty enforcers, and K-Rock the wild card. Together they embodied the chaos of Memphis streets. Dark, heavy, relentless. Juicy J and DJ Paul supplied beats, but MC Mac and Scan Man also handled production, giving it a slightly different edge, more chaotic and less polished, like a return to the raw, mystic style sound.
Come cause the Time's Up was a fan favorite in Memphis. Though under the radar nationally, Murder Dog praised its rawness, calling it a time bomber, Memphis street energy.
Though not a commercial hit, the album became a cult classic, influencing the apocalyptic imagery of Memphis rap going forward. It showcased the talent, depth of Prophet Entertainment beyond just 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah. Vrac Experience, the podcast. Prophet Posse, Body Parts. By 1998, Prophet Entertainment unleashed its entire roster on one project. Prophet Posse, Body Parts. This was Memphis's version of Wu-Tang Clan's Enter the Wu-Tang, a massive showcase of interconnected rappers proving Memphis had a whole army ready to march. Unity, chaos, horror, and southern street survival. The album played like a war manifesto, each member repping Prophet while keeping the dark Memphis aesthetic intact. With over a dozen rappers, 3-6 Mafia, Kingpin Skinny Pimp, Gangsta Black, Indo G, T-Rock, Project Pat, MC Mac, Scan Man, K-Rock, M Chow, Droopy Drew Dog, Nicky Scarfo, DJ East Rock, DJ Just Born. The album was a showcase of styles from Indo G's smooth flow to T-Rock's technical rhyming to Project Pat's storytelling. It was a buffet of Memphis talent. Paul and Juicy handled most beats, keeping things cohesive, dark, thumping and cinematic. The beats tied the chaos together. It was a grand statement. Prophet sound was bigger than one group. It was a movement. Fans loved it. Critics mostly ignored it though. Murder Dog dedicated pages to documenting Prophet Posse as the South's underground juggernaut for Memphis. This was a proud moment of unity. Body Part stands as the ultimate Prophet Entertainment time capsule. It captured the peak of the label before internal conflicts tore it apart. Many of the rappers would later branch off, but this project remains the blueprint of Memphis's dark, collective sound. Yeah. Vrac Experience.
The protest. Profit entertainment to hypnotize minds. Profit Entertainment was thriving. DJ Paul, Juicy J, and Nicky Scarfo had turned what started as a basement hustle into a full-fledged independent label. The roster was stacked. 3-6 Mafia, Kingpin, Skinny Pimp, Gangsta Black, the Kazi, and the mega collective Profit Posse. Underground fans consider Memphis rap the hardest, darkest sound in the South, with mystic styles in the end. 3-6 Mafia were carving their mythos. Profit Posse's body parts showed the label's depth. For a moment, it seemed Profit could grow into a southern powerhouse like Rap-A-Lot in Houston or No Limit in New Orleans. Paul and Juicy felt Scarfo was mishandling money and taking more than his share of power. Artists were caught in the middle, unsure where their loyalty should lie. Rumors swirled of shady contracts and disagreements over royalty payments. Paul and Juicy decided they couldn't build their empire under Scarfo's control. Profit was their foundation, but if they wanted true power, they'd need a clean break. The tension exploded in 1997, 1998. Paul and Juicy officially cut ties with Nicky Scarfo and Profit. Profit Entertainment was left in Scarfo's hands, but without its architects. The label's soul evaporated. Some artists remained loyal to Profit, but most understood that Paul and Juicy were the future. Their production, vision, and Brandon were what made the Memphis sound irresistible. Without them, Profit was a hollow shell. In 1998, Hypnotized Minds. This was more than just a new label. It was a statement. Profit represented the past, a fractured house. Hypnotized Minds represented the future, a tightly controlled machine. With Hypnotized Minds, Paul and Juicy could finally expand the brand nationally, free from Scarfo's business decisions. They took 3-6 Mafia with them. DJ Paul, Juicy J, Lord Infamous, Gangsta Boo, Koopsta Nicka, Crunchik Black, T-Rock, and other affiliates who saw the vision. After 1998, Profit Entertainment continued in name, but its momentum was gone. Scarfo couldn't replace the genius of Paul and Juicy. Artists like Kingpin, Skinny Pimp, and Indo G eventually distanced themselves. Profit became a ghost label, remembered more for its golden era than anything released after the split.